Good morning, I am Giovanni Costabile, and today I will tell you about Tolkien's Oriental sources, Renunciations of Immortality, and Fairy Nature. The story of Beren and Luthien is one of Tolkien's style that is best known and best loved. Among sources, one finds the medieval Welsh Mabinogion story of Guluk and Olwen and the Middle English Ser Orfeo. That is a medieval version of the Greek story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Nonetheless, there is no renunciation of immortality and fairy nature by the woman in these sources, and one does not find the motive to be merged with an impossible task set as suitor's test for the male lover. And so, since motif 302.6.2.2 in Thompson's motif index of folk tales, and its combination with motif H310, suitor test, and H1010, impossible tasks, are all Oriental motifs. I will survey the possibility that Tolkien was inspired by the Tibetan tale of the boy with the deformed head. It is found in the 1907 collection by O'Connor, and the old Japanese Takatori Monogatari. This is Luthien Escapes the Treehouse by Ted Nasmith. Luthien's renunciation of immortality and fairy nature, as I was saying, is an instance of the motif F302.6.2.2 in Thompson's index. But this motif is not found in Western literature, and nor in association with H310 and H1010. For example, in Richard Wagner's early work Die Fan, the Feriada only proposes to renounce immortality, but eventually it is her male lover who will be rewarded with immortality. In other cases, such as in the Odyssey, Odysseus refuses the nymph Calypso's advances in the island of Ogygia, which included a proposal to become immortal. Tolkien's inspiration could be original, but I think that if one considers Oriental sources, one finds parallels both to the renunciation of immortality and fairy nature, the association with impossible suitors tests that attest to the possibility of Tolkien's Oriental inspiration. This is an illustration of the tale of the boy with the deformed head. Indeed, this tale in O'Connor's collection of folk tales from Tibet is the only instance of the motif F302.6.2.2 that is found in the Oral Tales of India, motif index of Oriental folk tales. I will read you the synopsis of the story. There was a boy with a deformed head who could not find a wife because of his ugly appearance. One day he visited the lake and saw a drake descending to surface upon its waters. After the apparition repeated itself the following days, the boy decided to catch the drake, who revealed himself as the king of fairies and asked the boy to set him free, a favor that he would greatly repay. The boy refused the offer of riches beyond compare and stated that all he wanted was a good wife, being told by the drake that he could offer him any of his 3 daughters. The boy chose the middle one, since he did not want an old wife, nor a wife too young. The drake agreed upon one condition: their marriage would only last 9 years. The boy agreed, freed the drake, and the next day got his fairy wife and a magical palace to live in, with all the goods and servants they needed. They were happy for 9 years, and she learned to love him despite his appearance, while he was enormously fond of his beautiful wife. Then the 9 years passed, and one morning the boy woke up on the grass, since both his palace and his wife were gone. The boy was desperate and travelled through the lands in search of her, until he came to the nest of two little griffons who were threatened by a dragon. In a moment of compassion for the two little griffons, the boy fought the dragon and killed him, being asked by the feathered griffon whatever he wished for. He told the griffon his story and how he longed to be reunited with his fairy wife, and the griffon said that they would fly him to the abode of the gods, where he could plead for his wife. The griffon carried the boy into the heavens until they reached the abode of the gods, where they were asked how dare the mortal come there. After explaining their motivations and how the boy had saved the griffon's younglings from a fierce dragon, they were admitted before the gods, where the boy explained his case and pleaded for his wife's return. Upon hearing these words, his wife came out from her hiding place and ran to him, confessing that she loved him too. The gods agreed that she could return to him, provided that she renounced her fairy nature to become immortal. She agreed to do so, and they lived together on earth, happily ever after. I will read you the excerpt from the tale when the Renunciation of Fairy Nature and Immortality is found. When her father heard this, he did not know how to act, but it was decided that a conclave should be held and the matter debated at length. So the celestial powers met together in a great council, and having discussed the matter in all its bearings, they decided that, as the fairy princess decided to return to earth of her own free will, they would not stand in her way, but that if she did so, she must take the consequence of her own action, and that as the result of mating with an unclean creature like a human being, she must herself become mortal and lose her fairy nature. On hearing this decision, the girl joyfully agreed. So she and her husband mounted together upon the broad back of the griffon, and the great beast, spreading his wings, sailed through the golden gates of the palace and swept downwards through the blue heavens to the earth below. He soon deposited the youth and his wife on the ground near their old home, where he bade them farewell and returned to his own nest. And thenceforward, although the fairy had lost her magic powers, the two lived happily together and grew to a good old age in prosperous and comfortable circumstances. End quote. If we compare this with the Silmarillion, we found similarities and differences. Quote, these were the choices that he, Mandos, gave to Luthien. Because of her labors and her sorrow, she should be released from Mandos and go to Valimar, there to dwell until the world's end among the Valar, forgetting all griefs that her life had known. Either Baron could not come, for it was not permitted to the Valar to withhold death from him, which is the gift of Ilúvatar to man. But the other choice was this, that she might return to Middle-earth and take with her Baron, there to dwell again, but without certitude of life or joy. Then she would become mortal and subject to a second death, even as he, and ere long she would leave the world forever, and her beauty become only a memory and song. This doom she chose, forsaking the blessed realm, and putting aside all claim to kinship with those that dwell there, that thus whatever grief might lie in wait, the fates of Bern and Luthien might be joined, and their paths lead together beyond the confines of the world. So it was that Alone of the Eldalia, she has died indeed, and left the world long ago, yet in her choice the two kindreds have been joined, and she is the forerunner of many in whom the elder yet see, though all the world is changed, the likeness of Luthien the beloved whom they have lost. End quote. So one finds that in the Silmarillion the tale is characterized by an accent on sadness because of Luthien's renunciation, whereas in the Tibetan tale the accent is on their happiness. But the similarities should be obvious. Um, One should also compare the council of the gods in the Tibetan tale with the debate of the Valar. which was a dialogue that the Valar had concerning the desire of Finwë to divorce and remarry after Miriel died and refused to return. And this tale is found in Laws and Customs Among the Eldar, in Morgoth's Ring, the 10th volume of the History of Middle-earth. So, if Tolkien was inspired by The Boy with the Deformed Head, it seems that he changed the plea to the gods and their council to a tale of another motif that is found in Thomson Motif Index F81 and 1. Orpheus' journey to Land of the Dead to bring back person from the dead, which only involves the god of death and features no council of the gods. So Tolkien might have developed the council of the gods motive, which is Thompson A 167.1, in relation to another story, that of Finwë and Miriel, where the matter at hand was separation and remarriage, and not a first marriage, and the people involved were both elves, and not a union between an elf maiden and a mortal. Takatori Monogatari. If one looks sorry, if one looks for a combination of the Thomson motive F302.6.2.2 with the motives related to an impossible suitor's test, that, as we already said, are H310 and H1010, one finds in 9th century Japan the Taketori Monogatari, the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, which is one of the classical works of Japanese literature and available in English in Tolkien's use in the Japanese fairy book by Iwaya Sazanami, translated by Ei Teodorazaki and illustrated by Kakuzo Fujiyama, 1908. And F. Edland Davis's Myths and Legends of Japan from 1912, as well as the Old Bamboo Warrior story from 1888, translated by Frederick Victor Dickens. I will read you the synopsis of the Taketori Monogatari. In the bamboo forest, an old bamboo cutter comes across an odd, shining bamboo stalk. After cutting it open, he is surprised to find a thumb-sized child inside. The old man and his wife have no children of their own, so they raise the infant as their own daughter, naming her Nayotake no Kaguya-hime, reigning princess of the young bamboo. The miraculous finding of gold in each bamboo stalk, cut by the old man, ensures their wealth. After just 3 months, Kaguya-hime has grown into a full-shaped woman of enchanting beauty. At first, the old man tries to keep her existence a secret, but as her beauty gets noticed, she attracts many suitors seeking her hand in marriage. He rejects all of them, requiring impossible tasks to be carried out before allowing them to marry her. Kaguya-hime devises 5 impossible tests for them. The first suitor will have to bring her the sacred Buddha's bowl as gift. The second, a branch of the legendary tree with a trunk of gold and silver leaves. The third, the skin of a fire mouse from China. The fourth, a multicolored jewel placed on the head of a dragon. And finally, the fifth, the precious shell hidden in the belly of a swallow. Realizing that they are impossible requests, the first suitor returns with a precious bowl bought from a temple, but the princess notices that it does not emanate a holy light. The second, after looking for the tree, gives up and has it forged by skilled jewelers. But the princess doubts and is betrayed by the jewelers, who are still waiting to be paid. The third buys the treasure from a Chinese man, but when he brings the skin to the princess, she only has to throw it into the fire to realize that it is not authentic. The fourth surrenders after risking his life in search of the dragon. The fifth loses his life in an attempt to catch the swallow. Then the Emperor of Japan himself comes to visit Kaguya-hime and asks her hand in marriage. Kaguya-hime rejects his request as well, telling him that she is not from his country and therefore cannot go to the palace without him. Kaguya-hime's behavior becomes increasingly erratic, until she reveals that she must return to their own people on the moon. She was sent to Earth as a punishment for a crime of some sort. The gold was the stipend from the moon's people, meant for Kaguya-hime's upkeep. Guards are sent by the Emperor to keep her from the moon's people, but when a heavenly cohort descends from above together, the guards are blinded by a strange light. Kaguya-hime announces that though she loves the people to whom she became attached on Earth, she must return to her true home on the moon. She leaves the elixir of immortality to be given to the Emperor alongside the letter from her. The entourage ascends into the sky, taking Kaguya-hime back to Tsukino Miyako, the capital of the moon, and leaving her earthly foster parents in tears. The Emperor reads her letter and is filled with sadness. He orders his men to take the letter to the summit of the highest mountain, the closest place to heaven, and burn it in the hope that his message would reach the distant princess. He commands them also to burn the elixir of immortality, for he does not wish to live forever without being able to see his beloved. So in this tale, both the renunciation of immortality and the impossible suitor's test are framed in the context of the heroine's refusal of her marriage proposal. And Kaguya-hime is a woman from the moon, not a fairy, but the tale, nonetheless, is what comes closest to the association of the Thomson motif F302.6.2 with motifs H310 and H1010. Indeed, the detail of the Tree of Gold and Silver, which is acquired from the second suitor, can be associated with Laurelin and Telperion in the Silmarillion, and so might have got Tolkien's attention. The request for suitors to achieve impossible tasks is found both in the tale type of the giant's daughter and in the fairy mistress, but in this last case it is asked by the woman herself. As a consequence, Tolkien might have changed the tale and demanding the suitor test would be her father instead of the girl. And despite the fact that it may seem strange to associate Takatori Monogatari with motif F302.6.2.2, the fact that the Emperor renounces immortality hints at a renunciation by Kaguya-hime that he would like her to do. And of course, the relationship between an elf and a man is not the original form of the story of Beren and Lúthien. In the original, they were both elves in the Tale of Tinuviel. But humans were despised by the elves and considered to be unclean by Thingol in the original story, and this is also reflected in the Silmarillion. And this is found also in the Tibetan tale, which we have seen. And also the idea that mortals would defile the land of the elves, as suggested by Thingol, might be seen in the light of the defilement of the land of the gods in the Tibetan story. It must be stressed that this idea is still different from the idea that elves are the offspring of Cain in Beowulf. Tolkien surveyed Indian, Persian, Arabian, and Tibetan versions of the Pardoner's Tale by Chaucer, so you might be interested in Oriental sources. In my own research at Weston Library in 2018, I also found Tolkien's interest in Eastern sources of the Pardoner's style, and he discusses the role of Buddhist literature in the diffusion of folk tales, which might mean that he was interested in the science of fairy tales by Edwin Sidney Hartland, in which one finds um, the discussion of the same subject. And also Max Muller's lecture on the migration of fables discussed Oriental parallels of Western stories. For example, the tale of Barramay and Josaphat was spread in the West after the life of the Buddha. In Tolkien's and Gordon's preface to the 1925 edition of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, they refer to George Lyman Kitter's 1916 study of Gawain and the Green Knight, in which one finds cited the Indian collection of folk tales, Kathasarit Sagara, and other sources that discuss Oriental tales. For example, Algernon Bertram Freeman Mitford's 1871 Tales of Old Japan, and which more interests us, Sazanami Iwaya's 1903 Fairy Tales of Old Japan, Theodore Ozaki's 1909 Warriors of Old Japan, and Declan Davis's book, which you already seen. As a consequence, Tolkien may indeed have read the Japanese fairy book by Sazanami and Edlund Davis's Myths and Legends of Japan, and found the story of Taketori Monogatari in English. As a consequence, we can conclude that Tolkien might indeed have become familiar with the Tibetan tale of the Burm of the Deformed Dead and the Taketori Monogatari, and might so have been inspired in using the motif that in Thompson's index is F302.6.2.2, as well as its combination with motifs H310 and H1010. Thank you.